Real Housewives of New York recap, Wigging out. Bethany Frankel called last night's episode the crying game before it aired, which left me to wonder how this trip would differ from any other. I mean, tears, drinks, and stabbing oneself in the hand are just par for the course when the Real Housewives of New York hit the shores of any foreign country, right? As it turns out, this Colombia trip did involve a lot of crying, but it also involved one amazing wig courtesy of Luan de Lesseps. So all was not lost. The South American destination of Cartagena didn't know what was coming, but the ladies didn't waste any time making their presence known. After packing montages, the group somehow makes it past airport security to officially leave the country. This is, we assume, an auspicious start. Even with Ramona Singer's injured ankle, which she twisted during a Marrakesh-related event, everyone manages to pile into cars in Cartagena. Everyone also manages to loathe Ramona's whiny, demanding ass as she gets wheeled out from the airport and barks at the poor dude staring her all the way to the car. So far, Ramona is winning at being most obnoxious on this trip, and she hasn't even done her classic room grab yet. Luan puts it plainly, she's such a pain in the ass. In one car, Bethany tells Luan and Sonia Morgan that red scarf guy, Brian, from speed dating won't get off her jock. He's been texting her non-stop, but Beth wants nothing to do with him since she found out that he slipped out for drinks with Ramona and the matchmaker, Rory Sassoon, after speed dating. He and his Scandal girl red scarf are not welcome near her anymore. The house Tinsley Mortimer arranged is gorgeous, and the women are suitably impressed with their house manager and welcome drinks, although they're likely picturing the house manager running away in horror once Ramona starts making her many demands. To avoid the toddler-like tantrums that ensue when picking rooms anywhere, anytime these chicks travel, Tinsley passes out Tiffany boxes with names. Rooms will be determined, much like everything else in Tinsley's life, by blind luxury and chance. There's a necklace in each box with one of their initials, and each woman will place their box in a room. The name gets the room, period. Except whoops. Ramona and Sonia are along, so they'll be bartering and scaling walls and rubbing their scents all over whichever quarters suit them best. Oh, maybe not. Looks like the feral cats are standing down. The Tiffany gifts seem to have tamed them, no? Well, At least Ramona gets to boss around the kitchen staff for a bit, then force Miguel, her appointed manservant, to unpack all of her shit. This woman is a monster. But I still love her and sort of. A smidge. Everyone else explores, then meets for a bite to eat before heading out to the pool. It's here that Bethany's worst vacation ever begins, as she takes a bite of soup, only to realize it's fish soup. She's allergic to fish, immediately reacting to the poison and fleeing the table to puke and find a Benadryl. After Bethany writhes around on her bathroom floor upstairs, she somehow rallies and heads back down for dinner. The ladies are heading out on the town because hey, who doesn't like seeing grown women fight in public? They can't be expected to keep their crazy indoors all week. Tinsley giggles about Scott delivering a glam team to her for vacay, while Ramona receives a different kind of delivery, a wheelchair. But before she can climb into her geriatric chariot, she has to escape the elevator. Alas, the buttons are beyond her current brain functioning. Then, in the most horrifying moment to date on this franchise, Ramona stares from an elevator while trapped in glass right behind Carol's head. But we must quickly get over our horror, because no sooner does Ramona escape the elevator, than Luan comes waltzing out in a full Sofia Vergara get-up, wig and all. She is shaking her thing and doing it sober, for which Bethany praises her. Sadly, this week's headlines of Luan relapsing and heading back to rehab put a damper on her efforts to have booze-free fun. After everyone gets over their shock, and Ramona is loaded into her wheelchair, they head out to dinner. And let's just pause to celebrate this motley crew wheeling Ramona down the cobblestone street as Luan straightens her wig in back while explaining the finer points of her court sentencing to Bethany. These women are so wrong, it's right. Once Ramona is hefted up several curbs, they sit down to dine and to fight over Slade Smiley 20, otherwise known as Brian of the Crimson Color Scarf. Apparently, Carol went out on a date with him after speed dating, which shocks Bethany. She doesn't want Brian but is surprised to learn that Carol went out with him knowing he's after Bethany too and hasn't mentioned it. Bethany says Brian is a nice guy but warns Carol that he's a player. He's running game, Bethany tells Carol. This guy is running game. But Carol seems oddly smitten with Brian and doesn't want to hear it. She doesn't think it's that deep, which royally pisses Bethany off, who thinks it's highly unusual for a dude to be circling a group trying to date any one of them who'll take the bait. Carol doesn't see it this way, continuing to defend Tom 2.0's honor, especially when Sonia and Luan jump into Echo how smarmy he seems. For her part, Lou is just bummed out that the group already lost its mojo. She was promised naked skinny dipping and make-out sessions with Sonia by the pool. Now it's just going to be one long catfight over some speed dating weirdo that nobody really gives two shits about. After dinner, Bethany pieces out with Sonia and Luan before she's forced to do battle in the streets of Cartagena with women wearing green feathers. Bethany screams on the street while Sonia and Luan just laugh at her, then convince her to head out after all. They find Ramona easily by tracking the trashed wheelchair tossed out on the curb for someone to steal. Okay, the band is back together. But the tune is even more sour than earlier, especially when Tinsley asks Bethany if she's having a bad time, where Doreen does gossip. Bethany immediately lashes out at Dorinda for oversharing that Beth is having a crappy time in Colombia, but Dorinda rightly calls bullshit on her. It's not an important issue, and it's not a personal slight. Bethany has been miserable so far, period. She puked earlier, fought with Carol at dinner, and is being forced to walk around in public with wheelchair lady. WHO wouldn't be worn out? The fact that she takes issue with Dorinda mentioning it to everyone else is a misguided attempt at laying blame elsewhere though. And even she probably knows it. Eventually, Carol's squad leaves Bethany crying at the table, with only Sonia to comfort her. Bethany admits that her sadness is really about Carol and about feeling ganged up on, which Sonia can relate to. What Sonia can't relate to is why Bethany doesn't just brush it off and start drinking her face off like a normal Real Housewife. The next day, Bethany apologizes to Tinsley for complaining about the trip. She admits she's unhappy about much deeper issues, her custody case, her beef with Carol, and doesn't want to take it out on Tinsley, who planned and is hosting a lovely getaway. Tinsley graciously accepts her tearful apology.